Where is that going live button? Okay, I found it. I found it. All right. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Let me know. And let me see. I bet you Scott Hummer was the first again this evening. No, Patricia Butler was first. Good evening. Good to see you. Scott was number two. Rogue Gypsy, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. And let me see who else. L-Dog. Methane Creator. Good evening, Jim. Little Lone Prepper. Golly, sue me. All right. What a great group of people. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if possible, if that's what you like. Tonight we are continuing on. We're going to try to do about 5 or 6 chapters or questions in 150 Survival Secrets. Fantastic book by Jim Jones. One of the things, I guess there's 2 things I really, really like about his writing. He's very practical and he's very realistic. So he's not giving you a whole bunch of pie in the sky stuff to do. Very simple advice, very clear, concise, and it's put in the form of questions and answers that I really, really think are beneficial to most of us, at least to me. And so, gosh, last week we only got 1 question that entire hour, which was great because it's one of my favorite topics, and that was nuclear survival. So anyhow, that's we had a great board meeting, his group, the American Survivor. And so that organization, I'm on the board of directors for it. We had a great meeting last week. A lot of good things are coming up in the near future. Don't forget, there's also TACDA, TACDA.org. And that's a free membership right now. Fantastic biannual or semi-annual newsletter magazine. That's the American Civil Defense Association.org, TACDA.org. TACDA, another fantastic organization I strongly recommend. As a matter of fact, what's her name? Kylene and Jim from Provident Prepper are on the board of directors there. So, and I think Joe Alton's on the board of directors there as well. So that's another fantastic organization. Those are 2 that I would want to really, really recommend that you check into and participate with. Lots of great free training, lots of great stuff happening. We're getting an Austin chapter formed up here. I don't see him in here yet, but Rick and I are forming an Austin chapter, and so hopefully that'll be going here really quick. I met with Daniel, who is the operations officer for Spec 5 Meshtastic. They're here in Williamson County. They're just up north a little bit. It was about a half-hour drive up to where their factory is. And he gave me a tour of the factory and the products they're putting out as far as Meshtastic. My gosh, I hope I inherit a lot of money because there's a lot of stuff I would like to buy from them. They have a roof-mounted, solar-powered Meshtastic relay that I really want. They have another one that can be it's magnetically or suction cup mounted to the roof of your vehicle, and that becomes a Meshtastic mobile relay. Then that third one they have is built to be attached to a drone. So you can get it 400 feet up in the air. Talk about improved overall range for a Meshtastic system. Unbelievable. So anyhow, those are just some of the great things we see going on there. Let's take a look at question number 108. What kind of pack should I use for my evacuation and survival packs? He recommends a teardrop, basically a civilian camping bag. I like that idea. I really like it. And the reason I like that is because it's also gray man. The more militaristic you look with your pack, the more of a target you're going to be. The more of a person who is just kind of, looks like they've just kind of thrown things together and used existing camping materials and things like that, the better off you're going to be, as far as you probably won't think you have that much. The pack should also include plenty of outside pouches for small items and tie downs to secure sleeping bags and ponchos. So mine has a strap down at the bottom. I got mine from, gosh, I forget the name of the company now. I'll think of the name of the company. But it's I built my first one based off of a Yukon aluminum frame Yukon backpack from the Boy Scouts. I upgraded that to a Alice pack from the Army. And then that Alice pack, so I started that Alice pack. I bought that at the clothing sales store in San Angelo at Goodfellow Air Force Base, 1981. It got stolen out of the back of my car in 2015. And when it got stolen out of the back of my car, I wanted to get something to replace it quickly. I felt naked. And so I've been working on that one, 30 years? And, upgrading, replacing, mixing things in and out. And so I wanted something I could get real quick, and I bought the one that I have now. And it's a pre-built system, but you know what? I'm going to swap some stuff out over time, just as I did with my original one that I had for 30 years. Actually, my first one was that Boy Scout Yucca pack. That was the name of it, Yucca, Y-U-C-C-A. Yucca pack. It was canvas on an aluminum frame. But anyhow, so he says, be sure there are attachments and or pouches on the front straps for you to place items such as a compass, weapon, knife, etc. that you may need in a hurry. So you want to have something on your straps where you can attach things up here and have them readily accessible, whether that be a compass or a first aid kit or a knife. The improved first aid kit, the IFAC, now for the military actually goes on the back. And we used to have ours up here on our load-bearing equipment, which looked like suspenders. We would have it here upside down, so you just pull the flap and it all fell out. The size of the pack should match your carrying capacity and survival needs. Smaller waist or butt bags are good for a field survival kit or backup survival. It's good kit to keep in your car. I have what they call a messenger bag in my get home bag in the pickup that I leave in the pickup now. I don't leave a bug out bag that I'm modifying to become a get home bag. I was working up in Waco area, and so that was the commute. That would have been a 3-day walk home. So I was using my bug out bag as a get home bag. And the name of the company I bought it from is Echo Sigma. So Echo Sigma. I bought their bug out bag basically as a get home bag, as a replacement for my Alice pack that was stolen out of the back of my car. So anyhow, you want to have all kinds of attachment points up front. I don't like a bunch of stuff dangling out of the back, off the back. I like to keep as much of it contained inside the pack as possible. You can get them in various colors. When I was the HR director for the homeless shelter downtown, and this was like 2012 to 2015, I think it was. The big thing about gray man in our society, there was a big discussion. And so what I decided I would do one day was I was going to keep a look out my window and just write down the colors of backpacks that I saw. And with the homeless, you see all kinds of backpacks. I saw Donald Duck backpacks. I saw Cinderella backpacks. I saw everything, military, camping, hiking, and everything else. What I found out was there was no pattern. Everything was used by the homeless. So in that environment, you saw a lot of homeless people. I used to think that, unless you're in a military area, having military BDUs or battle dress uniform, it's what we called them before I retired. I had the woodland dress camouflage, and then the desert came out, the last 6 months I was on active duty. But you're kind of with your gray man if you're in uniform around a military post, okay? So if you're close to Camp Mabry, if you're up at Fort Hood, and you're in BDUs or ACUs or whatever they call them nowadays, nobody thinks second thoughts about it. However, here, if I were to walk around town in BDUs, people would think something about that. Down around the homeless shelter, they were given they would buy a lot of military surplus clothing and give to the homeless. So you saw a lot of them dressed in military style clothing. Okay, we'll close that one down, and let me check on chat and see where we are in chat. Little known prepper, take a look at Echo Sigma. They have some good stuff. It's good quality stuff. I you're probably going to want to upgrade some of it over time. But as far as a raw, out of the bag, great. I would trust it. I trusted it enough to where that's what I bought. So, and I don't get anything by telling you to buy it. They don't have a program where I could represent them or anything else. I did a strong research. Now there is one that I want more than an Echo Sigma, and there was an Eberly stock hunting bag that was fully stocked, and that's where I found out about yo-yo reels, and this was back in 2015. But anyhow, fully stocked Eberly stock backpack, $3,000. I thought, whoa, someday maybe I'll win a jackpot and be able to afford that. But right now, no. I don't know if I could carry the weight because as much stuff as I had inside of it, gosh, I don't know. Sue Mee's going to put snowshoes in her car. That would be a good idea. I don't have an exoskeleton pack. Who is this, Jim? The Echo Sigma is basically I want to call it a fake canvas, but I'll tell you what, we've got a meeting, I believe, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after. I will take my pack up to the meeting and show it to you and let you take a look at it and see what you think. Let me see. Forces are supposed to be able to carry 300 extra pounds with it. Huh, I don't know. I really don't know. I would be happy to carry just 300, not an extra 300, but I think anything over 50 right now for me is probably going to be a desire. That's why I have mine right now zip tied to a two-wheel dolly. Now, Jim, Methane Creator, when I was at his meeting last month, his group's meeting last month, he showed me, and I still need to order it, Jim. Thank you for showing it to me. But there is a two-wheel cart with big wheels, and the whole design of the cart is to carry a deer or another animal that you have hunted out in the fields. You put your meat and everything, the carcass, into this big two-wheel dolly, and then pull it out of the field so that you can get it back to where you want to process the meat. What a great thing that was. So I plan on getting one of those and upgrading my two-wheel dolly, because the two-wheel dolly is, for inside use. It's got those little bitty wheels, very small shelf on it, whereas this thing that Jim showed me has a humongous. Jim, I think I gave you, did I give you, yeah, you have moderator authority. So if you want to, go ahead and that one you showed me that you have, if you want to look for that on Amazon and put a link to that in the chat, that would be phenomenal. Show people what we're talking about, because I think you have a brilliant idea. I think that needs to be shared to a lot of people. Ohio Valley Prepping, good evening. Welcome. Let me see. A friend wanted to sell it because did I feel right on her? Have a Polish Army 75 liter. Oh, wow. That sounds great. Camo's formal wear. Yeah, that's what you get married in, huh? Let me see. Oh, you're welcome, Little Lone Prepper. Yeah, so Kaylin, you're absolutely right. Put some, and I would also say some ratchet straps and bungee cords. And the only reason I say ratchet straps along with bungee cords is because bungee cords sometimes have a tendency to snap or fray or whatever, especially if you're pulling it across rugged terrain. So yeah, I would put both. I think that's a very valid suggestion. And the third one, I mean, what I'm using right now are zip ties. So I would include some of those probably as well. Let me see. Oh, Triple G, Pete, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. I did not know that, Kaylin, that you were Polish. Wow. Rozumienia po polski? Okay. So what should a survivalist do if lost or stranded in the outdoors. Well, a true survivalist is never lost. So you always have your maps with you. You always have your compass. You always have all those different things. You pretty much know where you are. You know where you want to go. So that makes that pretty much a lost situation is not really going to happen. But first off, is just calm down. Come up with a plan. Don't start getting excited. The minute you start running, trying to think, this is where I was or anything else, before you get your bearings, you're going to make the situation worse. Just sit down, calm down, realize the fact that you're lost. Come up with a plan. See if you can find out where you are on your map using your compass and or GPS or whatever you have with you. See if you can find out where you are. Make a plan to get out of there. And that's the best thing that you can do. We do have, human beings do have dominant directions, okay, that we have a tendency to go towards. Make sure you study the movement of the sun, so when is it going to be mostly east of you? When is it going to be mostly west of you? Can you do a shadow diagram on the ground, with stick? So you draw the arc and you know which direction is north and south and east and west and all that kinds of stuff. You probably will not be lost. Now, I will tell you, I tell you all the time, everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage of using the stick, shadow, and arc method is you are going to be immobile for quite a while you're waiting for that arc to develop as a result of casting the shadow. So if you can carry a compass with you, even a button compass, at all times, that's going to be fantastic. I have a military grade compass that I keep in my pickup, with my get home bag. So I always have a compass with me when I'm in the truck. Now, most of the truck, I've got a 5-year-old truck, and it doesn't have 30,000 miles on it yet. And I think most of my miles are actually going from here up to Methane Creators meetings. So let me see. Okay. Scott, what'd you put up there? Thank you, Jim. So, Jim, if you take a look here, Methane Creator has the link right underneath Scott Hummer's link. And that's the link to what Jim showed me at his meeting that I think is just one of the best things I've ever seen as far as cross-country mobility, as well as senior mobility using a bug-out bag or a get-home bag. So thank you very much for sharing that. Let me see. Wow. So Utah Mike's has a 5.7 liter, 381 horsepower. Okay. Next one, number 110. How can I signal for help if lost, stranded, or injured in the outdoors? Well, number one is, try to use your cell phone if possible. I carry GMRS with me most of the time. I will be carrying Meshtastic here in the near future. So those are going to be some ways. If you're in an area where there's overhead traffic, you can carry a mirror, okay, and then use your mirror to reflect the sun towards the pilots. Do not use a laser beam, okay? Laser beams can blind the pilots. But if you have a flashlight, you can shine your flashlight at it. You can reflect the solar light at it. And try, if you can, send them an SOS, so that they can kind of remember where your position is. And SOS is 3 dots, followed by 3 dashes, followed by 3 dots. Did it, da-da-da, did it. And that's SOS, okay? You could do that. The number 3 becomes basically a stress type of a signal. You can blow the SOS signal with your whistle if you have one. If you have a firearm, you can fire 3 shots. That's an SOS signal. That's interpreted as SOS. You can bang on metal, okay? Now, I will tell you that if you're around a military establishment, anytime you have metal on metal contact, so you're banging metal against metal, what that is an indication for a CBRN, which is chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear event. So people are going to stop what they're doing immediately and put on their gas mask and mop, which is military-oriented protective posture. So that's their chemical suit. So metal on metal, be cautious around the military. They will interpret it a different way from everybody else. But if that's all you have, bang on it. Let it get out there. Bang, bang, bang. 3 honks on a horn. Anything in a multiple of 3 is going to be interpreted as an SOS. If you have something where you cannot do the dash, which is a longer dot, then just do 3, 3, 3. 3 sets of 3, and you've got it made. People will know what you're talking about. Okay. You can also, if you have any kind of clothing that you can lay out into an SOS on the ground, or you can kind of like stomp into the soil, or you can stomp into wheat or cornfield or anything else and bend the items, the fauna and flora into a pattern where it shows SOS from the sky. That'll do as well. There are some aerial observation panels that you can get. I think they have them on Amazon. I'll look, and if they are there, I will put them in the show notes. I forgot to look for that. Let me make a note. Aerial panels, but if you can get those, they're linen. They don't weigh much at all, but they can be used to do all kinds of things. In the Army, we use them to say we need ammunition, we need medevac. They're just the way you set them up tells various stories to the helicopter crews as they're flying over. So SOS panels. Okay. Okay. What questions do you have about getting lost? Yeah, some bushcraft bandanas are that's a great idea. Hudson Valley prepping, Mike. Beautiful idea. As a matter of fact, so what, and that kind of brings up another thing. You want to carry as many triangular bandages with you, in my opinion, just Lee's personal opinion. I cannot have enough gauze, especially 4x4 or rolled gauze. That's what you're going to use to pack a wound. You can't have enough triangular bandages. You can't have enough Israeli bandages, and you're going to need as much Slishman wrap or Coban or something like that as possible. All that becomes an essential first aid kit. Now, if you plan it right, you're going to have something around your neck, okay? I like to have olive drab or brown scarves, but if you have triangular bandages in a muslin color, that's going to be something you can use to attract attention as well. So if you can get some that are fluorescent orange, that would be phenomenal. So thank you for sharing that, Mike. That's a great suggestion. Let me see if I can find some fluorescent orange. What did I do with my pencil? Put it up, I guess. Another pencil. Okay, fluorescent orange scarves. Great, great, great. Thank you. Gosh, you guys come up with such great ideas. Thank you. Okay. Next one we're going to talk about. Oh, there it is. It's holding my place in the book. What is the single most important survival tool a survivalist can have? There's all kinds of great ones. Here, he starts off, the very first answer to this chapter is there is no single item that defines, establishes, and sustains an individual's survival, self-reliance, and freedom more than a knife. And he talks about the various forms of knives and what to look for in them. Probably goes on for about 4 pages, okay? So I'm going to give you kind of a short synopsis and Lee's opinion. I can't pull them out of the sheaths on a live. That's one of the things that Facebook does not like. I like bushcraft. So because of bushcraft, I have my number one knife is the LT Wright Genesis. And this is my LT Wright Genesis. Notice I have a fluorescent orange, like Mike was talking about, Hudson Valley prepping. I put this fluorescent orange lanyard on it so that when I'm out in the field, if I drop my knife, I can always find it, or I can see it against other colored things. Same thing with my ferro rod. And my ferro rod has a little button compass on it, by the way. This is 3/8 inch of steel. Okay, I believe this is D2 tool steel, and then it is what's called a full tang knife. So you can see here that the metal, the full tang, it goes all the way down, and this is all metal, all the way solid through. Okay, 3/8 of an inch thick. So you want at least 3/8 of an inch thick. You want it full tang, that is all the way down. Now there's something called a rat tang, and so the rat tang, it has two pieces of metal. It looks like a little fork up here, but it only comes up about halfway through the handle. The rest of it's going to be rubberized or something like that, not quite as solid. You're not going to get quite as good a purchase on it. It's not going to have the life suitability of this. So this is my #1 go-to bushcrafting knife, okay? It's in a Scandi grind. So a Scandi grind basically has a primary bevel, and then it has a secondary bevel, so it's going to go down and then a little bit sharper. If you don't want to spend the $200 for an LT Wright Genesis, but please understand, you get what you pay for. Then approximately the same design. I mean, this got a little bit more of a barrel handle. This has got a little bit more of a contoured handle. This one is made by Condor Tool and Knife down in Central America. You could mistake it for a LT Wright half the time. This one's going to cost you about $60. It's D2 tool steel. So, I mean, it's a good knife. They're both full carbon steel, great knives, absolutely love them. Now, the other bushcraft knife that I would recommend, Mora knives, Morakniv, is a fantastic knife. This one is, Mora only has 2 full tang knives. This one, which is the Mora Bushcraft Black, and then there's one more expensive than this called the Mora Marburg, Mahrberg. But this is the black. It's the cheaper of the 2 Mora full tang knives. This isn't quite as thick as is the LT Wright, but it's a great knife. I think this is only a 1/4 inch thick instead of 3/8. It does come as well with another ferro rod. It has a sharpening diamond on the back. It's in a plastic case instead of leather, but this is what they use on ships. So this is a fantastic knife. This is also a Scandi grind. Scandi grind is for bushcrafting is my preferred grind. Okay. For survival knives, I have 2 that I'm going to strongly recommend that I just love. My Becker BK2, which is a K-bar knife. So this is the K-bar Becker BK2. Man, this is a beast. Okay. It's a rather smaller knife. It's only got about a 5-inch blade. This is a I want to say 3/8. This is a 3/8 of an inch knife instead of 3/16. But this is a very thick knife. It's very heavy, but very, very hard, heavy duty. You can see once again, I like the orange handle on this when I go out to the field. And but this is a fantastic. I would call this a heavy duty knife, one that you can actually beat things with, and just this is a survival knife. So it's going to have all the strength of a knife that you need. It's going to have more strength than would your bushcraft knife, but it's not going to have the finesse of a bushcraft knife. So this is my go-to. My second go-to is the SE4, or this is SE5. And the SE5 is a fantastic bush survival knife as well. This one is in what is called a flat grind. So the blade goes straight, and then very end, they grind it down into the bevel for the cutting surface. When I first got this knife, oh gosh, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, the very first time I pulled it out of the sheath, I was not experienced yet pulling it out of the sheath. It was sharp. I cut my finger taking it out of the sheath. It was like you would not believe. Phenomenal knife. I would say for a survival knife, either one of these 2, you will not go wrong. the SE4 or the BK2. I also have a BK7, which is a 7-inch knife, but I think that's just way too much knife for me. It's just too much. Fighting knife, you can't beat the original K-Bar World War II Marine Corps fighting knife. This is just a fantastic knife. The one thing I don't like about it is the clip point that it has for a point. It's more of a fighting knife than a bushcraft or a survival knife. But I mean, if that's what you have, that's what you have. So I could say get that one as well. He talks about folding knives. So in my left pocket, I keep a Rat, which is Ontario Knife Company Rat knife. In my right pocket, I keep a Buck Revell. Now, these are no longer made, but this is my Buck Revell. That's one of my favorite knives. And I keep that in my right pocket. I wish I had the money back in knives I've lost to the Transportation Security Administration. This one is no longer made either, but this is a Schrade SCHF 43. As a matter of fact, I lost one of these in the couch. I went to a preparedness meeting with Texas Preparedness Group back, let me see, we haven't had a meeting since the cough epidemic. So I want to say I lost the original of this, about 2018 at one of our meetings. Nobody ever offered it back, so I had to get a second one. Then they stopped making it right after that. But this is a very heavy, sturdy, this is a 3/16" blade, lock blade, very good. It does have a Scandi grind on it, okay? So almost a saber grind. But you see how you got the first grind here, and then you got a second bevel here. Fantastic knife, strong recommended, if you can find it used. Then he talks about another one that he recommends, and that is your basic multi-tool. So I always carry this one in my left pocket. This is a small one that I got for like $10, $12 at Cabela's. And so this is, just something you keep in your pocket. On my belt, when I go out to the field, I have another Schrade. So I don't have the expensive stuff. I spent all my money went for my Becker BK2, my SE4, and my LT Wright Genesis. And oh, by the way, if you follow LT Wright on Facebook, okay, he announced today that he is going to start doing giveaways of free stuff on his Facebook page on a regular basis. So go to Facebook, look up LT Wright, WRIGHT, knives, and make sure you get in there and just take a look at he puts out one video a day. It's usually just, 2 or 3 minute inspirational thought. But he is going to start giving away free knives. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. He's going to start giving away what he calls free stuff. I'm hoping it's a knife. But there's only one knife of his that I would rather have than my Genesis, and that's the GNS. So, which is basically an enhanced Genesis. So, GNS, Genesis. But anyhow, so this is my Schrade multi-tool, and it's got several tools inside of it. So, you can carry one of these on your pocket, and this would be another one of those great blades to keep with you at all times. This is different from most others. If you take a look at, well, both of these are that way. Let me see. No, yeah, this is the standard way. So this one, all of your cutting implements and everything are inside the handle when it's open, okay? But they're outside the handle when it's closed, okay? So you can access them. The Schrade, on the other hand, is outside the handle when it's open and inside the handle when it's closed. So they're kind of opposites. So you have to open this in order to use the blade. That's the disadvantage of it. Now, if you get, I forget what the name of the big company is that, Leatherman. Leatherman, they have it so that you can use the blades and all the tools in the closed position, which the advantage there is, let me see one that's not a blade so I don't get a hit with the, okay, so this one is basically an awl. So notice now, because I've opened it, this is kind of like a screwdriver. You got a good handle on everything on it. Whereas if they're inside and you have to open it up and expand it out, you don't have that leverage, okay? So If possible, take a look and make sure that you're getting your multi-tool so that it's opening without having to open the pliers. Okay, and you can use the tools that way. Okay, so that's blades. Basically, what he talks about is the most important of all of your survival equipment. Let me see what you all think. Oh yeah, thank you, Kaylin. That's a fantastic, fantastic addition. Yes, make sure it has a 90-degree spine, which means that this part here has been basically ground straight across, because it doesn't do you any good to have a ferro rod. If you have a ferro rod, okay, this thing right here to start a fire, if you have a rounded back on your knife, it's not going to cause any sparks. You'd have to use your blade. You don't want to use your blade. You want to use that back end, 90-degree spine. Thank you, Kaylin. Great addition. Appreciate that. And then Utah Mike says that his knives are much more set up for skinning and quartering and hunting. I have a set of processing knives. As a matter of fact, Jim, a methane creator, I just bought his fixed blade hunting knives off him last month at his meeting. And up until that time, I had basically, mine was and I'll show it to you one of these days, mine was a folding knife set, so that each one of those 3 blades was a different folding portion of that knife. But now I have regular dedicated knives for hunting, thanks to Jim. Triple G, that's not very far from you. So you just have to go straight across 190 over to the Colleen area. And his meeting is going to be the 3rd Saturday of every month from 1 to 3. Fantastic group of people, some of the best you're ever going to meet. Great meetings. He puts out a lot of great information. I think this meeting where they're going to be talking about precious metals primarily, but just a great meeting that you might want to attend. I think you would do. I think you would add benefit to the group, and the group would add benefit to you. And it's only a half-hour drive from where you are over into the Colleen area, so that would be great for you. What are my thoughts on the Leatherman multi-tools? I love them. I love what I see. We're looking at, I think the cheapest Leatherman I've seen so far that I would look at, that I would want to have, is about $80-85. If I could afford it, I would have one. I mean, always get the best possible you can for the money. I wish I had saved and gotten that instead of this Schrade, but I'm where I am. Until I can get some more money to get a good Leatherman, I'm stuck with my Schrade. So yes, if I could, I would have a Leatherman. I would prefer one, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. So Ohio Valley Prepping says he likes his Gerber. Gerber has 2 fantastic knives that are well worth the money. I have one of them. It's just not my favorite knife, but it is definitely a good buy. And the 2 are the LMF and the Strong Arm. So Gerber has 2 really good knives, the Gerber LMF and the Gerber Strong Arm. I would recommend either one of those if you have not purchased a knife yet. So Mike says, Hudson Valley Prepping says he's been beating on a Wave, which is the ultimate basically in Leatherman tools for about 15 plus years, which is great. Okay, and so Jim put his Facebook group and where he puts his group announcements and everything else on there. Thank you for doing that, Jim. Oh wow, I did not know that. Yeah, things change. I don't think most of the knives that I've shown you here today, I don't think they're going to discontinue because they're just that good a quality of a knife. I know that the Becker BK2 is still sold, and I was watching something where it was rated the #1 survival knife, in this guy's opinion. And then he put my other knife, which is the SE4 as the number 2 survival knife. So I was kind of happy to see we were in agreement with the same 2 knives. As far as a bushcraft knife, there's all kinds of things. I don't think that I think that the Genesis is the bread and butter of the LT Wright Knife Company. I think the Genesis and the GNS are probably going to be their mainstay forever. I don't think they'll ever really stop that. They may change the scales or handles, something like that, a little bit here and there. I don't think they're going to change the knife design. I know that it is now available both as a flat grind and as a Scandi grind, so you can get whichever option you want. I think Mora is making a killing with the black and with the Marburg. They're making a killing. It's a great knife, and it's a great company. So I don't think you're going to get anything wrong there. Ontario Knife Company, fantastic company. I think they're going to stay great for quite a while. Buck, this knife has been discontinued. What did I do with that? I put it back in my pocket. This knife has been discontinued, the Revell. But I love this little knife. This is, gosh, just unbelievable. I will tell you that this knife, the Columbia Knife and Tool, and I think it's called the Bushlore. No, Condor. This is Condor Bushlore. This is my go-to knife here around the house. So if I just want something I'm going to be using around the house, basically abuse, this is the one I go to. Okay, this is probably about a $60 knife. So it reminds me an awful lot of the LT Wright. Okay. What should a survivalist do if he is lost or stranded in the outdoors? Well, we already talked about that, so let's go here. How can I signal? What is the single most important survival tool? We did that. How can I survive a disaster if I lived in an apartment or a condominium? I know for a couple of you, Kaylin, I know you're one for sure, that this applies to. It says the wise survivalist should seek the lowest floor of a small apartment building with only 6 other apartments in the building. Most apartments usually do not have enough room for storing large quantities of water, food, and other supplies. Municipal water, sewers, heat, and gas are more likely to fail, and alternatives are much harder to provide in an apartment dwelling. So, realizing that, how do we make the most of that? Well, number one, you've got to concern yourself because it's very close proximity to a whole bunch of other people who probably have not prepared. So make sure you have your defenses set up. How are you going to take care of things? Another advantage to being at the lower level is that the water, they pump water up and then use gravity to come back down. So you're going to have water probably at a greater pressure than anybody else. Then you can, of course, you have greater access to the outdoors. The advantage there is that you can cook outside if you need to on a grill or whatever. The disadvantage is it makes it easier for crooks, thieves, brigands, and everybody else to have access to your apartment. So, the convenience you get is also a defensive nightmare. You can offset that if the apartment will let you by planting certain thorny type of bushes and things to establish some sort of a defensive corridor. Most of them probably won't let you do that, but if it's beautifying the apartment complex, I will tell you, when I was in Germany, as a matter of fact, I was talking to the Sergeant Major. He and I were chatting earlier today. And when we were in Wolbeck, which is a little town, Schöningen, on the east-west German border back then. And there was a British site, our sister site, about 15 kilometers away from us, in a little town, in German town called Langeleben. Well, the British Army of the Rhine, 13th Signals Regiment is what that was. And that was their intercept, Signals Intelligence Intercept. They had 12th and 13th Signals Regiments were basically their electronic warfare companies, or regiments. And but they wanted to build a swimming pool. And so we were all in the German forest, the Elm Forest. And the German government said, no, we will not allow you to build a swimming pool in our forest. So they waited 2 years, and they rewrote the request. And instead of requesting to establish a swimming pool, they requested permission to have an above ground 500,000 gallon water reserve for forest fire fighting. And the German government immediately approved it. Well, it just so happened that the 500,000 gallon above ground storage facility was shaped and concreted and everything just like a swimming pool. So it all depends on how you present things, right? So if you want to do something nice to improve the overall aesthetics of your apartment complex, but to your advantage as far as deterring people from wanting access to your apartment, go for it. Let's see where we are. I have the Ontario Rat 1 folder with neon scale. Oh, wow, neat. A pedometer would be fantastic, let alone prepper. That's a great idea. Okay, number 113, is camping an important activity for survivors to engage in? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, my first aid plans are based off of a report by the National Forest Service on the most common injuries that happen when people are camping. I think that that's going to be realistic as far as we're going to be put back into a primitive mode, just like the campers are. And so what are the most commonly occurring camping things? That's what we're going to have as far as injuries in our lives in a post-apocalyptic world. Fire is burns is the number one thing. People are not used to open fires and containing open fires. And then number two are cuts and wounds because they are preparing firewood. So, with axes and knives and everything else, lots of cuts and wounds and splinters and things like that. Then number three beyond that are sprains, strains, and breaks, which I can understand that. That makes sense. And then the next one after that are insect and animal bites and reptile bites, reptile stings, whatever you want to call them. So same thing. Now, there are two that we want to add to this that I think are going to be specific to a post-apocalyptic world that we don't normally have camping. And I don't know where they're going to fit into the hierarchy, but I do know that the first one, which is going to be any kind of a let's call it a conflict injury. So that could be a hypersonic thing flying through the air and entering your body and leaving what they call a cavitation wound. Hopefully there will be an exit wound as well. Those things, I'm going to say that we're probably going to be back to the 1870s, and that's going to, regardless of where you get hit, that's going to have a very high mortality rate, simply because of the infections, the secondary infections and everything else. If you leave the high speed projectile inside the body, that's going to cause a certain type of opportunity for infection to set in. Of course, if it leaves the body, then there's another set of another wound, which is going to leave more opportunity for infection. It may not be that the actual injury itself is as mortal or as fatal as is the infection that ensues following that injury. Same thing with injuries caused by stabbings. So I think that that's going to be something you have to consider, is that any kind of an engagement where there's some sort of violence, that an injury, think of almost any injury from that as being potentially fatal. Then the other one, of course, is going to be disease. I am scared, like you would not believe, of people who won't be able to maintain body hygiene, won't know how to dispose of human waste. There's all kinds of things associated with that that's going to cause all kinds of rampant disease. And so getting into the drinking water, there's so many different things that can happen with that. That's another high mortality issue that I think that we're going to have to deal with in a post-apocalyptic world. So how do you get used to those things? How do you make yourself a little bit more comfortable? How do you develop the skills, the knowledge, and the ability to produce firewood, to keep yourself warm or to cook? How do you establish a good campsite? How do you keep yourself warm in the winter and rather cool in the summer? How do you avoid having your tent blow? Oh gosh, I was at a motorcycle rally once at it was over close to Texas A&M College, um, and this woman did not put stakes in the ground. She had one of those pop-up tents, and she was inside of it. And then we had a windstorm, and the windstorm was blowing her into the lake. We had 5 guys that had to step on her tent to hold it down while she got out because she didn't stake it down. And so it was just going to roll right. The wind was going to blow her right into the lake. It was unbelievable. But the only way you're going to learn how do you keep your hands clean, in a post-apocalyptic world? Go out camping. How are you going to dig a cat hole and dispose of human waste? How do you start composting that? How do you cleanse yourself afterwards in an appropriate way? All these different issues are things you learn by going out and camping. And that's also a good way to test to see if you have the proper equipment and to get to know how to use your equipment. Going out to the forest and finding out that, hey, my little pocket knife is not going to produce the feather sticks I want to start a fire, or a bow drill, or anything else. I'm going to need a sturdier knife. Those are the types of environments and the types of challenges you face when you go out camping that's going to give you the knowledge and the experience with your own equipment that allow you to survive better. Water purification. Here's my personal opinion. I don't want to say anything negative about the company because I think the quality of the product is superior. Life Straw, anything like a Life Straw. Think about it. And I'm going to give you the experience of going out camping. So you go out camping, you have water purification, you have a Life Straw. You want to fix a pot of coffee, right? So you're going to suck through this straw. Now you have clean water in your mouth. How do you get that clean water into the pot to boil coffee? Okay. Well, you probably don't want to use a Life Straw to put into your, spit out of your mouth into your coffee pot to make coffee. You probably might want to have either something like a Survivor Filter Pro that uses a handle pump. You're sucking out of the water and then discharging pressure-wise through a hose into your coffee pot, or a gravity filter, like Survivor Filter has a gravity filter. Sawyer, the mini Sawyer, can be used either as you can either suck into it, or you can turn it upside down. It has a bottle you can attach to it and a bag. You can use it as a gravity filter so that now you have the water accumulating inside of a bag that you can pour into your coffee pot. Those are things most people, I would say, most people who are getting into preparedness think that just having a Life Straw is enough to meet all their water purification needs. I'm going to say, take that Life Straw out camping, don't trust any water, and see if you don't want to spend a little bit more money on a Grail, a Survivor Filter Pro, a Sawyer drip system, something that's going to be something other than sucking through a straw. Okay, I bet you that you will invest in a different form of water filtration by experience, by learning that, it looks good on paper, but, in reality, it's not what you want. The final one, we've only got about 5 minutes left. How can I control my fear in an emergency and control my fears in future events? Become familiar with your equipment. Learn. Go camping. Gain some confidence in your ability to withstand whatever's coming. I'm a hunker down guy. I'm not a bug out guy. So I did all my bugging out when I was a Boy Scout. I did all my bugging out when I was in the Army. I'm satisfied that skill is developed. I'm going to hunker down. That's going to be my primary. That's all there is to it. Now, I will bug out. I have a bug out bag. I have a bug out plan. But that's only going to be if this area is on fire. Or, there's a couple scenarios I would say, yeah, I'll have to leave my home. Otherwise, no, I'm not. The first time there's a sign of something happening, I'm not bugging out. I'm staying right here, right with the people I know, right in the conditions that I know. With my solar system, my rain catchment system, I know that I can put a portable outhouse out back. There's things. Everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. Okay. Uh, Ignorance. He talks about ignorance can be deliberate or accidental. A person may be lazy or just avoid any kind of challenging information. That's an example of being deliberately ignorant. Chronic fear, and then he talks about accidental ignorance, like the life straw. Just didn't know that was a limitation that you might have when you go out with your life straw. There is chronic fear of bad things that are anticipated: war, solar shift, magnetic pole shift, internal turmoil here in the United States, dollar collapsing, you name it. There's all kinds of chronic fears. They've been here since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is what got me started. And so you're going to have some sort of a chronic fear that's always out there. Don't let it manage you. You manage it. Come up with a plan. Follow your plan. Okay. Acute fear is an immediate threat to your existence or freedom, such as smoke coming out of out of a door in your home. Then that immediate thing is fire in that room. That's an acute fear. How do you overcome that? You have another plan for that as well. Start doing the what ifs. Okay. We're going to talk about what ifs here in just a second. Both acute and chronic fear can be divided into three categories: fear of the unknown, fear of pain, and fear of one's own inadequacies. Now, this next little paragraph or so, fear of the unknown, Jim puts it better than anybody I have ever seen in my life. So I want to read the conclusion of this page and a half to you. It says, convert the fear of an undesirable event into a plan on how to cope with it. Instead of focusing on what if I lose my job, focus on the plan. If I lose my job, then what will I cut as far as spending, and what will I do to find another job? Instead of thinking these people are going to kill me, think, how can I avoid becoming a victim, and how can I counter them if I do encounter them? By applying what-if analysis to potential acute fears and planning for things you chronically fear, these fears can be greatly reduced. So just start doing, instead of what if I die? How do I prevent myself from dying? So start taking a more positive aspect on it so you can position yourself in a better position to deal with any fear that comes up. So fear of pain, that's logical for all of us. That's one of the things I really stress in the Q course for Special Forces, really stress it in the SEAL BUDS training and other training, is overcoming physical pain. So that is something you can train your body to do. I suck at it. I am allergic to pain. I have hypoallergenic reactions, or not hyper allergenic reactions to pain. I don't like pain. But anyhow, I have to deal with that. Okay. And then there's the fear of personal inadequacy. And so there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And so the Dunning-Kruger effect says, the less you know about something, the more vocal you are that you're an expert on it. The more you learn about something, you get into what they call this valley of despair, where all of a sudden, and we can call it, you don't know that you don't know something, right? Then when you know that you don't know something, all of a sudden your confidence goes way down. As you start to learn it, you begin conscious competence. So it's kind of like riding a bike. You focus on the wheels and the pedals and everything else, not necessarily on where you're going, but you're focusing on the mechanics, right? So that's where you're starting to improve your knowledge in that skill or ability. And then when you become an expert in it, it becomes unconscious competence, where you do it by rote, by memory, by habit. So what you want to do is you want to establish as many good habits as possible. Can you draw quickly? Can you strike a ferro rod with the back of your knife and get a good spark so you can start a fire? Can you feather stick well? Can you boil water? All these things. The more you learn, the more you're going to feel, I don't know enough. I need to know more. And let me tell you, that's something I struggle with on a daily basis. And thank you, because you guys provide all kinds of additional information for me to learn on a daily basis. You've got to learn something continuously. You can't be stoic in what you know. You've got to continue the learning curve. So I want to end this evening with what he says about fear of personal inadequacy. He says, oh, be courageous, okay? Courage is not being unafraid. Courage is being afraid and then being able to do the right thing despite the fear, okay? So I think that's, those are some key things from the book for this week. We'll try to get another 5 or 6 covered next week. Gosh, this is a great book. Make sure you get a copy of it, put it in your library, go through it, develop a checklist on things you want to do for your own personal growth and your own personal knowledge as you're developing your skills and skill sets for surviving in a post-apocalyptic world. Let me check chat one more time, then we'll close it down. So let me see up here. Improper sanitation of bad water will take more than any skirmishes will. I happen to agree with you, Mike. I think you're absolutely spot on. You must keep those hollow fiber filters from freezing. Absolutely. They will still appear to work after all the hollow fibers explode, but won't filter water. Absolutely. Membrane Solutions is a good company. It's a fantastic. They are a Berkey clone, and they and Alexapure are both. I would say. By the way, there is the Berkey has come back after all the bad publicity about their stuff. I am in the process right now. They asked me if I used to be a distributor, so they have asked me if I would take 2 of their new Phoenix filters and test those and have those sent off for testing, the water as a result of that, and do independent research for them so that they can regain their credibility. And so I am doing that. I'm working with Berkey right now. They've rebranded themselves to the Berkey. Right now I do not have affiliate status with them. But I would say Alexapure, the Berkey, and Kaylin, what was one you said? Membrane Solutions. Yeah, those are the 3 that I would say. I would trust all 3 of those. Grail on the go. Grail on the go is a fantastic one. So Grail on the go is basically a container, a water container. Okay, the filter is built into the bottom of, let's call it a press. So if you think of a French press, the French press has that filter at the bottom. You put your coffee down at the bottom, fill it up with hot water, and you push the French press down inside so that you're only getting the coffee and not the coffee grounds. And then you drink that, and then you pull it out, and you wash it out, and you get rid of the grounds. Exact same principle with the Grail. Okay, so the Grail, what you're doing is you're putting dirty water on the inside. Then you have this French press type of a system where as you push it down, it's pushing the dirty water through the membrane so that inside the inner container, you have fresh, pure water. And so I've got one. That's on my bug out bag or get home bag, whichever you want to call it. Wholeheartedly agree. Grail is fantastic. Another company I strongly recommend is a company called Seychelles, Seychelles. It's a French company. The only company I am aware of that has radioactive filters. So you can buy filters that will reduce radioactivity in your water. But just remember, and this is the reason I kind of changed my mind on wanting to have one. You've got this bottle. As you suck it, the water goes through the filter. Where's all that radioactivity concentrated? In the filter. What do? You take that bottle, put it on your hip. Now you've got all that concentrated radioactivity on your hip. I decided that wasn't such a good idea. So I don't have that anymore. But anyhow, Seychelles is a fantastic company as well. Pro 1 filters are the best, according to Rogue Gypsy. I have never been exposed to them. I don't know. I can't. I will take your word that it's a fantastic company. I just don't have that much knowledge about them. So I can't either endorse or contradict you. But I will definitely, let me write that down as something else I want to check into. Pro 1 filters. You guys gave me some homework. Okay, the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for such an active participation in chat, for sharing such great knowledge, teaching me new things as we go along. I always appreciate that. Thank you for taking care of each other. And we'll see you here next week, Monday at 8 p.m. Central. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please continue to be kind, polite, and respectful to each other because togetherness is the key. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.